Hello.
Hi, James. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. Hi, Karina. Hi, Jason. Can you guys hear me? Hi, Sensei. Can you hear us? Okay. Here we go. Hi, guys. Glad you guys could make it. I will be joining you very soon. I'm just driving back now. I think Sensei is online. Yep. Hi, Sensei.
Hello.
Hi. I'm still driving back from our last class, Sensei, but the rest of the members are online at the moment. Can you see them?
I'm looking now. I see Jason, I see Dominique, and I see Karina. Yes.
That's it. Great. I'll join you in a few minutes since I'm just driving home from my session. Please carry on though.
No problem. This is Diana. She's a Shodan from Colombia. This is Jason.
Hi,
and,
Diana. Yes. I think
Karina.
I met Diana from the Joda group, eh?
Yes, yes. You remember
Hi.
Diana from the Shodan group. Right. She's visiting New York for the week.
Hi. Lovely, lovely. Very envious that you can travel. Okay. All right, Sensei, I'm going to be putting myself on mute for now. So the session is yours.
So, those of you who have the ability to practice, pick up your swords, please. Let's start with opening rainbow. Here. So a couple of points about opening rainbow. Sensei sent me the Embu that you all did on February 3rd. So for Dominique, when you pick up the sword from the floor, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. You're going to be doing this, you guys are using the shinden style with the cord over here and picking up the cord first. So when you pick up the sword, you have two motions to do, right? You're going to do 1, 2. So when you do motion number 2, you need to put your hands on the sword at the same time, not 1, 2, 3. Only 2. So wherever your sageo is, practice where you should pick it up so it comes out in proper thirds. And you lean forward from your hips, reach your right hand over, pick it up in the right place, and together. Okay. Well, I didn't pick it up in the right place, but that's because I don't do this. Here and together. Then come directly to your center, keeping this shape of the sword. So you don't want to go like this. or like this. The sword is on an angle, roughly the angle you're going to insert it. So just pick it up directly, put it here, turning the edge up as you come. Keep it here. So your young gentleman was up here trying to figure out how to put it in. Keep it here. Use this hand to insert Koji. Don't try it with your right hand. It's too hard. This is very similar to making noto. Use your left hand for small motions close to your body. And then you tie it as Diana is tying it on the right side. So one of the things for people who sit up tall, I sit very low to the floor. But if you sit up tall, then sometimes it's hard to keep your balance when you're trying to bow and pick up the sword and put it back down. So try, as you're sitting here, getting ready to lean forward, to push your hips a little down and back, and make sure to try to bend, hold here at the hips, not at your waist, but at your hips, as much as you can, pushing still down onto the floor, and reach out your hands. Now put the sword where you can reach it, not too far, not too close. Right. Right. The reihou is the first thing the judges see after you stand up and walk out. So you want to do it correctly, and you want to do it in a way that helps you stay calm and focused. So one way to help yourself stay calm and focused during your reihou is to practice it a lot, so you're very comfortable with what you have to do. Okay? Right. So let's, if you can, turn 45 degrees or so, 30 degrees to your right, so I can see your swords. Just up, down. Get the sword, push the sword on the curve, up, and then rotate around your left hand, bringing the sword in one motion. So 2 motions would be 1, 2, or 1, 2. 1 motion. Figure out how to coordinate yourself together. You stop the sword, use your stomach muscles as well as your hands. So you can actually stop your breath. You can start breathing out here and stop breathing, and by shutting down from here. And that'll help you coordinate the use of your core muscles. So, right, and that'll help you, because especially as you get better at cutting and you can generate more force, you have to be able to stop more force. And you can't just do that with your hands. You can't generate more force with your hands. You're actually using your body to generate the force, and you need to use your body to stop. So when you're stepping in, you're going to start pushing the hip, engaging your center, pushing, so that that's the kind of, that should be your image of cutting, right? Most of us, of course, can only cut like this, 1, 2, but you want to cut, your intention should be 1. Right? That the cut starts here and ends here. 1. You have to have a reasonably balanced sword, and you have to build up your strength slowly and recruit core muscles to help you with the stepping and the stopping of the blade, right? Not just your hands and your arms. And for people like Jason, who are big and strong, you may not be able to feel that you need to use your core at first, right? You just may be able to make the sword go, looks just like Sensei's sword, only with your shoulders and arms because you're so big. But at some point, you need to figure out how to use your core as well. Okay, so let's just do like 5 cuts, nice and focused. Okay, so breathe in, start breathing out. Another one. Breathe in, start breathing out. Yeah, breathe in, and out. Keep your head up. Don't move your head. Last one. Breathe in and out. So one of the ways to manage your head is to keep your head in. Don't look at the sword. You don't need to look at your sword. Your sword will show itself to you. It will fall right through your visual field. You don't have to look at it. Also, it's in your hands. So you can feel where it is, in addition to when it shows itself to you, you can see it. Right? But don't look down at it. You don't need to. You should be able to convince yourself that you can look out straight ahead at eye level and see the sword in the bottom of your visual field at the same time without moving your head at all. You need to convince yourself of this, right? Because we're very visual, humans are, and you will look at things. You have to teach yourself to allow them to show themselves to you. Let your sword show itself to you. Oh, it's there. I don't have to look at it. It just showed me where it is. Right? Right. So. Local. Again, in the Embu, there were some issues with drawing and putting the sword away. For people who practice kendo, the difference between Iai and kendo is you have to draw the sword and you have to put it away. Otherwise, it's just kendo. There are a few additional differences as you get on, but those are the main and obvious things and what you must work on. So when you draw the sword, unlock the koiguchi. Other spaces here. This is locked. I push and slide forward. Now my fingers are holding the sword itself. And those are my first 2 fingers. These 2. These 3 are holding the saya. And I use them to push the saya back. And I start extending and take the saya off. So the best way there's 2 things. I think I showed you guys this once, right? Get your hand out here, natural extension, relax your grip, and take the saya off. That's how much you need to move the saya. That's how much. That's what you'll see people do is they'll get out to here and then they'll do some more without moving here. When you look at yourself in the mirror or on video, you want to see start going backwards, go back more, not go forward. And this side is asleep. You use both sides of your body. So once you figure out how far you have to move, then you want to work on the timing of your 2 hands. Because your hands are doing different things. Your left hand is going to be turning the saya and pulling it back. And using that motion is going to be from your shoulder. Your right hand is basically going to be doing this, this, this. So it's going to be rotating, like screwing out a jar lid in this plane. It's going to come out here, turn, because the sword is turning, and go go like that, and because of the momentum, it'll go across. You only need to cut about this wide, the cutting part of the move. So you need to figure out how to take the saya off when you rotate. If you rotate before you take the saya off, you'll hear a little noise, just as a conductor, right? If you rotate afterwards, you don't get any sayonara. You just wasted all. You didn't give any momentum to the sword from your left side. So you'll see those two mistakes. You can hear the first one, and the second one looks like this, where you take the saya off and then cut, as opposed to freeing the sword tip into the cut. So you want to, when you're practicing by yourself, or when you're practicing, you want to have your ear out for little noises in the interaction of the sword and the side. When you draw the sword out, you're going to want to make one line, because the sword is still in the saya, which is enforcing one line. You want to make one line with your hand and the handle, right? It's going to come straight in. When you put it back, you want to do the same thing. Hold the sword still, this side. Not to steer around, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing the vertical no-pull like I do, horizontal no-pull. It's the same. Set your saya, extend, stand still. Stand still out here. Bring this saya on. When you're steering your hand around out here and attempting to pull the sword in, it's very obvious, as opposed to just hold it still and put its little hat on. Like so, some of you have experience with children. You've put socks, or you've attempted to put a sock on a child, right? You have a small child and it's cold and you want to put socks on them, right? You don't hold the sock to try to stuff the kid's foot in the sock. You hold the foot still and slide the sock on. Same idea. Okay? Hold the sword still, slide the side off. Now, one reason people find it difficult to hold the sword is because they're holding on too tightly. So, one of the things you want to teach yourself is when you can hold the sword, this is its heaviest position, because where you are on the lever. You can hold the sword with 2 fingers. Turn it up like this, it gets light. Which is one reason that when people are first learning kata number 1, and you saw this in your young man, after he cut here, he did this. Because now the sword is very light. As opposed to, this is a little heavy, this is still kind of heavy. And so you get it up here, where it feels a little bit light. But holding the sword loosely is part of how you can make your noto smooth. So I'm going to hold the sword here with the edge of my palm and my ring, make this little circle I make here, and make my noto using that. Okay, I'm not holding the sword tightly. I'm barely holding it at all. And now I'm not holding it all because it's in the side. So you don't want to do a lot of things with your fingers sticking up because it gets the habit, but you don't want to convince yourself when you can loosen the grip. So for yokomoto, it's the same. Same loose grip. And as you work on this, you need to be very strict. And it's not, oh, it's almost still. It's either still or it's not still. You want to be real, how shall I say this, severe with yourself. Okay, that wasn't right. It was close, maybe better than last week, but still not there. Okay, that's a little smoother, basically. So when you want to do that drill, Sensei, where you're supporting the blade, bend your arm. You're out here, bend your arm, bring your hand a little closer to your body so your elbow drops down below your hand, and then when you rotate, it'll straighten you and straighten the arm. So you get even closer, even closer. There, right, and right in the center. You want that, the feeling of the sword doing the movement. You're going to start it, but your motion is at the center of the rotation, relatively small, and then the sword, the shinsa makes a big movement in response to that. And you're actually generating the momentum you can go with. You don't have to push the sword. So closer to your body and more bend. This should look relaxed. Do it like from the front.
Hi, Sensei.
My elbow is below my wrist.
Hi.
Here, I'm engaging my arm, and it's going to make me hold the sword more tightly than I.
Hi.
Yes, there. That also helps you set up your fingers correctly. You want
Nice.
the last joint of your pinky on the front edge of this. You can feel that there's an edge, right?
Hi, Sensei.
You put your fingers like this, and that's about the front, right? So you put this joint on that front.
Hi.
You put this part on the back. The back is a little like I usually get a slightly egg shape. So it's a little, the back is a little fatter than the front.
Hi.
This is on the back, this is on the front.
Hi.
And this is really all I'm using, but because I'm trying to be, not build up bad habits, I'm not actually sticking these fingers out, even though I don't need them to do this.
Hi, Sensei.
And then,
Hi.
right? And it's not a lot of, you don't have to put a lot of effort into making the kisaki go swiftly.
Hi, Sensei.
If you start by holding on tightly, then with a full grip like this, the fist, then you're going to find it hard to get the sword tip to go across. Right? It's going to go like this. Your arm is going to be way out on the side, and you're not actually getting any reach. So part of what you're after, you can think of this a little bit in terms of Jodo. You want reach, right? When I want to cut sideways, I need to reach. But I don't want to reach like this. And if I hold on too tightly, I won't get any reach across here. I need to get the sword tip to go out and forward. Yes.
Hi.
Then try to relax your elbow and bring this whole business into the center. You don't want to be all the way over here already. When you draw in line, you're pushing your fist down the center.
Hi.
So we want to get a good feel for what that center position is. Okay, so relax a minute. So cutting sideways can be, gets tiring after a while.
Hi,
You
Sensei.
can practice the hand positions with a vertical cut, just like this. And practice pulling in with the pinky and pushing out with the webbing. Or you can think of it as pushing with your thumb if you want to. So here I'm very open and then I close. But I could be also, if I want to use my wrist a little bit more, I can be mostly closed and still cut because I'm going to use my wrist. If you don't want to move your wrist, then you're going to have to open your fingers. The issue with opening your fingers is sometimes you stick them up, sometimes you can't control the kisaki and so forth. When you're doing two-handed cut, you go up over your head. But for the purposes of getting comfortable with your sword, this is fine. And just Tenouchi means that we have the right grip at the right time. Doesn't mean you have to have the perfect grip all the time. But when it's time to make the impact, you need the right grip. You need your hand to be in the right relationship to the sword and the right amount of tension. So you can have less tension when you're not hitting, when you're not at the impact point. Right? Like when I say, I want you to be here and so relaxed that your elbow is below your hand. I don't have a complete striking Tenouchi at this point. My hand is open. I'm barely holding the sword. But I want to be able to get to it. So at the point of impact, when the kisaki comes here, my grip is what I want. And then I just keep going with it. So most people in the first 5 years of practicing just hold on for dear life. And I'm trying to sort of speed you up a little bit. But I want you at least to have the concept. You do not have to have the perfect grip all the time. So let's try to put these 2 drills into practice by doing Sensei on my mind. There. So another thing that I noticed in the Embu was the timing of how to finish. So, and finishing is stepping back. You're not finishing until you step back to your starting position. So here in Omemai, I would have made my noto and gone down and stood up. My hand's still on my sword. Then I'm going to take my hand off, and when it touches my side, I go. Right, so one of the things you don't want to do is take your hand off and stand there. You want to releasing the right hand from the ska is the beginning of that last direction, which is retrieve your starting position. Right? So that's a timing thing that seemed to me that was not so clear in the Embu shop from February. So you don't have to be in any kind of a hurry, but once you start to release this, you need to be able to go. So you might want to think about, before I take my hand off, which is kind of easy, is my balance ready for me to step backwards? Whatever it is I need to step backwards, do I have it before I start to take my hand off? Because this, from here to here, doesn't take long. And you may or may not be able to get your balance and prepare in this amount of time. But you could stand there, make sure, and then go. So. So, you know, we normally take 3 steps back after kata number 1, and 2 after kata number 2, and 1 after kata number 3, and 2 after 4, all the way up to kata number 11, where we take about 9 steps all the way back. So you want to be able to just put your hand down and go. So, and this is the correct timing for sitting. Take your hand off. When your fingers touch the side of your hakama, you should take your first step. Not before, not while your hand is still in the air, and not while your hand is still on the sword, but also don't stand there with your right hand down. Yes, that's very nice, Karen. Right? All right. So let's. And you can even take a step back so you don't fall off the screen when you get to the. Let's do it one more time. You hold my mic. Boy. There. Straighten your back like a machine. To take the same size step, and you step back. And you hold it. Like that. You hold it. Good. No, into the front first. Sensei, muy good. Use that. So right now, before you sit down, what will you see when you turn around? When you're all the way turned around, what will you see? Okay? So when you see that, that's what you need to aim your ska towards. So try again, please. Iaido. Yes. Much better. Okay, this is important for number 2. That's the first judging point is, do they turn around and cut their opponent on the temple? If you don't aim your ska at straight down the showman, you cannot hit the target.
Hi, Sensei.
Okay. Let's go on to number 3. Yoi. Good. Don't turn back to the front. You should still be 30 degrees off. You turn back to the front until you take your hand off the sword and step. Quick cut. Uncle man. And I got good. So when you sit down in Seiza, sit down as far as you're going to sit down and then take your left hand off the sword. Don't take your left hand off before you're finished sitting. The movement, if you're going to adjust your sageo, that happens once you're done sitting, right? So you finish sitting, left hand off, adjust the sageo, okay? And then you're ready to start again. Please try. Yes, much better, much nicer. Right, that looks like it's under control and you understand what's important, right? If you take your hand off before you've sat down as far as you're going to sit down, that means there's a moment where your hips are still moving, but you don't have hold of the sword. In general, when your center is moving, you want to have hold of the sword one way or another. Either just your left hand on because you're finishing sitting, or both hands on because you're starting to get up and so forth. So you don't want to be moving your center around and not have hold of the sword, right? Except when it comes time to start our walking out, where we're supposed to show how to take 2 hands onto the sword. Right? Okay, good. Let's try everybody's second favorite Sensei kata, which is number 4. Let's have everybody turn 45 degrees to your right. That's enough. From this angle, you should be able to see correct heights of both strikes. Right? What's more of this? Number 4. Right. That tip is too low there, Jason. So, Jason, when you put your hands on the sword, your elbow is already up. You should think of putting your fingers on the sword, not your fist. Leave your elbow down and push out. Once you get up like this, it's actually hard to push out. You're pulling out at that point, already pulling, right? And then, so you want to actually push, which means your elbows should be down. Okay, can you turn your back to this camera? And yes, and take a step forward and do the kata, right? So I can see you now. One more step. And I want to see how you're sitting in patinza. Again, another step, if there's room. Right? Okay, admit. Wait. So you're a Tendo guy. So that means you know how to get into Santiago. Right? This final position of the feet is a version of Santiago. Right? You have one knee down on the floor, but it's like Santiago. So you want to pull your front foot back as much as you can, where you get your feet a little closer together, if possible. Over time, I'd like you to pay attention to how to stretch the top of your feet so that when you're sitting in Seiza, can you see my feet? Yeah. When you're sitting in Seiza, your heels, your toes are together, and your heels should go out. This will allow you to sit down a little further than if your heels are up. You see the difference there? This does require a little more rotation in the knee. So, don't just force yourself to do it, but try to explore what you need. For patinza, you want a similar thing, where your foot is pointing that way, and is as flat as possible. Then open straight. You're not quite there, and then at the end, you're not quite there. So these are some things you can try to, sharpen up a little bit. Okay. It's, we don't sit in Seiza after we're about 3 years old in the West, right? We teach our children how to get up on chairs and how to sit on chairs and let their legs dangle and so forth. We don't keep sitting on the floor as we grow up. And so this is something we have to relearn and reaccommodate your body to, or to your body. And I don't know, it took me about 3 or 4 years to be able to sit down properly in seiza without having to put padding on my feet or anything. So I'm perfectly comfortable with, yeah, you have to work at this. And, you know, you have to work some years maybe to get it to be, oh, I can just sit down. And this isn't something that everybody does, right? Not in the West. Okay, so let's all do number 4 once more, please. So your fist should be about halfway between your knee and your hip. So not too close to your knees, not too close to your hips. And again, waki shimiru. Let your elbows drop down and back. Mid. That was pretty good, Karina, but your initial hit was a little too high. Think about where on your own body your suigetsu is. And if you, so for me, it's here. That's actually not much above where the sword already is, where this kagashira already is. So I don't need to lift the scarf. I just need to extend, and then I should still be at the same height. So if you wear the sword more steeply, then you almost have to push it down to get out to the right height. And you don't need to extend quite that far. You're pushing out a little too far. Try to pull your shoulders back and make your back a little more flat and your chest a little more open. Instead of reaching all the way out there, you can still have a little bit of give in your arms. Yes. And now, as you slide the saya down, let the handle turn in your hands and ski. When you come back to the, when you make the ski, I'm sorry, you make the sword, you move the sword with your left hand, but you move the saya with your right hand. And so saya was back like this, right? Pretty much there. And I need to go here and touch my hand to my body and turn it palm down. So I try to put this big knuckle here, right into my navel. Just like stick it in there, and then I'm in the right place. The saya is in the right place, and all I have to do is let go of it when I want to reach up and cut down. Don't overreach, no need for that. Turn, ski, turn your left hand, turn your palm down. Yes, and bring it towards your stomach. Touch your body, bring it in. Yes, that's much better. Yes, okay, then turn to look to the front. Look first, and then raise the sword. Now look and make sure the guy's still there. So look first, and then turn. So as much as you can, free your neck, look first, then raise the sword and cut down. You can actually look, tiny pause, and then raise the sword. You don't have to be in a hurry here. Look first, and yes. It's much nicer time, much more correct. Right? So this movement of the saya from the draw to here is, we do the same thing in number 10, right? So in number 10, you have to bring the saya back into the center with your palm down, right? So your two hands are going to be palm down, one with the sword in it and one with the saya in it. And they're going to be kind of stacked, you know, like your bottom hand will be under your top hand's wrist, approximately. So if you can figure it out in number 4, you can figure it out in number 10. Sometimes it's easier to do this standing up. So you work on it in number 10, and then you'll have it in number 4. It's the same. Okay, that same, pull it back, bring it forward. So when you pull it back, you're going to turn the palm up. And when you bring it forward, you're going to turn palm down.
Sensei, just repeat again, when did you say that we look? Was it before or after we unsheath the sword? So after the scut, and then the scut there, do we look first, or do we draw the saya back first before we look?
Okay, so it's just so interesting. Apparently, this is a thing in the Ewigkeit. I had a phone conversation with one of my Rokodons out in Idaho, Utah. He had a call from somebody in Idaho, like, when is it? I've been looking at all these videotapes. It's all different. Yes. So you have to be able to see. So you want to think about what's the soonest you can see. Okay. And what do you need to make that happen? So from here, I can't see to the back with my head like this. So I'm going to unlock and start. I can actually see, when my head's about halfway, I can see behind me if I pay attention and use my peripheral vision.
Hi.
At that point, I keep turning because my body's turning. But
Hi, Sensei.
so
okay.
Exactly when you start is a little bit, it's not very clear from the descriptions. So different sensei, I tell you, look sooner, look later. My teacher actually looks at the end.
Hi.
We were just, with my conversation with my other students, we were looking at his he'd given us, and he's 1, 2 at the end.
Hi.
But for you guys, I think you should start earlier, and you can turn slow and go with your saya, because you don't have to draw the saya fast.
Hi, Sensei. Hi.
You need to draw it accurately and correctly, so you come, turn, pull off, and not be in a hurry and cut the saya, because this kata is one of the ones where you can cut the saya or the ring of the koiguchi, because you're making a very sharp angle, right? Compared to when we go when we draw to the front, the angle of the saya and the sword stay closer together. But here we're actually trying to do this. Like keep the sword here. And so this is one of the ones where you can cut the saya if you go to for your skill.
Okay. Just another one on the timing, Sensei. So after the sword has come out and it's basically on your chest, is there a pause there, or is it a continuous motion as soon as it's on and you looked and then it's immediately ski? So
at your level, you want a small pause, because you want to make sure that everything is ready. And you want to let, in a shinsa, you want to let them see that everything's ready. So for you, up, hit, draw, skew. So
Hi.
tiny point, right? Making sure that you've got the sword actually touching your chest before you start to skew.
Hi,
And
Sensei.
the side is all the way back here. So this should feel very open and then very closed.
Hi. Understood, Sensei. Thank you.
Yep. At some point, it will become a little more continuous, but you're doing a full change of direction here. So you know, using first one end of the sword and then the other. So it's, you know, you can let them actually show and feel like, oh, right, now I'm pointing with seme back there. Now I'll see. Okay?
Thank you, Sensei. Hi.
Yep. All right. Let's stand up. We have a few more minutes. Let's do kata number 5. So this is nice and hard. One of the ways you can do a walking version of mine to help you get comfortable with this kata, especially when you're teaching it to people. You don't have to turn the sword as much, but you're all practiced in this. So let's just go straight to number 5. Turn the saya enough so that you can cut quite steeply. One side of the neck, opposite hip. Up and down. Good. This kata is one of the 2 kata where we take hold of the koiguchi. I saw that that was a correction that your Embu were given. You need to remember it. Once more. Good. So you only have to take hold of the saya. You don't have to move it. Dog or cat? Looks like a dog wearing a collar. So from here, from Hasso, you can just take hold. That's fine. You do not have to open if you don't want to. Because once you open, you need to come back. So it's fine just to drop your hand from this kagashira, which is right under your nose, to the koiguchi, which is right under your nose. Just drop your hand, and that's all. That's fine. You can do that. Or if you want to make it a little bit more bigger, I don't know, you can move the side around. Either one is fine. But you do have to do it at this, you have to take your hand off the sword as you're starting to make the chiguri and go directly to the side. There was a time when we went first to the saya. Oh, you can't hear, sorry. I don't know if I can do anything about my volume. Maybe, hold on.
Sorry, Sensei. We've sort of, I think we've also got a thunder shower here. So it's starting to, like Jason said, it's very difficult to hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. I mean, we're almost out of time anyway, right?
Hi.
According to.
Oh, that's why my dog has now taken shelter on my lap.
Thunder?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's got thunder as well, Sensei.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's finish with closing Reho.
Hi.
So, Hi.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. Now it's stopped now. Murphy's Law. It's stopped by us, so we can hear you.
Okay.
But, thank you very much, Sensei. I think everybody found it very helpful. And we'll see you again in another 2 weeks, Sensei.
Yes. Maybe I'll come back to dojo again. I think it might be helpful. I can
Hi.
move a lot more and show you more from here,
Thank
I
you.
think.
We
So,
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sensei.
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you.
Very nice to see you, Diana. Thank you, Sensei. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you all.
Arigato.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye,
Thank
Sensei.
you.
Bye, everybody.